Well, guys, first of all, welcome. We're so excited to be here just to talk about, we're going to get to talk all about international today. And it's awesome for me. I'm Stony Tanner. I'm the head of U.S. sales here at New Life. But I am joined by none other than Mr. Ryan Linton, our Chief Administrative Officer. Ryan, welcome. Glad you could be here with us.
Good to be here.
And also Mr. Reid Tanaka, our Director of International Development. Reid, so excited to have you here.
Excited as well.
You guys are, I'll tell everybody, I said they look fantastic. They're color coordinated. You guys really nailed this. Way to go. I'm so excited just about to talk about this particular subject, and I know you guys get to do it all the time. I know it's really fun for me because I get to talk to our leaders who you're really impacting by virtue of having this conversation. But this is really about us focusing on kind of what we've accomplished in the international markets and also how people can participate. And I know you guys have answered that question probably 100 times, right? But there's this whole conversation about that. And really what I think kicks this off better than anything else is the fact that we just launched in the EU, right? I was so excited about that. I can't tell you the number of calls I've taken that people have said, we're open in Europe. I'm like, yes, right? So we get to kind of talk about that launch, how that's going to impact them, and how they can participate. But I have a few questions for you guys, if that's okay. And Ryan, I think I'm going to start with you. And simply because you've been here longer than anybody. You worked as a consultant, and then I think you've been a part of our corporate team longer than anybody else. And so you have seen this process. You watched us start clear back in I've heard it said it was a 10 by 15 office. Every time I hear the story, the office gets a little smaller. But anyway, the long and short of it is tiny office where we're doing sales and operations and logistics, and we're doing all these things, and you made it work. And now we're 5 years old. We've accomplished all these amazing things out there in the marketplace, and we're seeing, what are we in 8 or 9 countries now? I mean, we're just seeing things that have just absolutely amazed us. And I want to ask you this question because you probably have the best perspective. What have you seen the most during that time period that's just absolutely amazed you about this growth?
Well, I don't know, Stony, if you know my background, but I've worked for venture capital companies that have been invested in heavily and startups. And even with that, over 90% fell. Wow. And even those that make it 3 years, another 90% fell of the remaining 90% within 4 or 5 years. So the fact that we've gone 5 years. But to answer your question, when I first met Alexi, he hasn't changed. No. He hasn't changed from day one to today with the amount of success that New Life's seen and experienced. But one thing that I've noticed is, it was lightning in a bottle. It truly was. Just seeing the demand for our hero product, Somaderm. And just, there are many people that are still here from those early days. They looked so tired and ragged because they were doing everything. People were fulfilling 5 or 6 or 7 roles. But, we've come a long way. What really impressed me is it was the field leaders, you all, that actually led this growth and expansion. And we've just been trying to keep up with you ever since, and we've been putting in a lot of the foundational pieces and support, and we have made a lot of progress and stride there. But that's one of the biggest things I've seen.
Well, and to say a minute, I've seen you do yeoman's work, right, in terms of what you've been able to accomplish. I think our term at the office was we always feel like we're changing a tire on a car that's going 60 miles an hour already. But the things that have been built and what you've been able to accomplish has been amazing. But I think, and that has particular impact internationally. I mean, if you were looking at this kind of this market just in general, and this is just all, your thoughts, your opinions on this. Where do you think incredible growth is going to come from in the future? I mean, if you were just to look at it, you just said, just purely speculative, or where do you see growth happening right now that you're most excited about?
Wow, I think there's multifaceted areas of growth for New Life. Obviously, Alexi's given a sneak peek at the Yukon event and elsewhere. We have some fantastic products that are going to be launched that really focus around kind of that Somaderm mission. And so I think, when we launch that's obviously going to be one dimension of growth. But, obviously the other is to to evangelize this, to get this out into more countries, into more ears and minds. And so that's why we have Reid Tanaka. Is he's the professional and expert. He knows where we're going, and he's got a plan for it based off of input and feedback from the field.
Love that. And to your point, I really feel like watching these markets grow and watching what's happening, that we're going to see growth in a ton of areas, right? Based upon what you just talked about, this strategy relative to product and what you're able to accomplish and how markets are growing just inherently on their own. And so I love the fact that you brought that up. The better we tell the story, right? The better we talk about it, then the better we're able to really see this kind of growth. So amazing. Beautifully said. Reid, I have a question for you too. If that's all right. Good.
Bring it on.
And I know you do this a lot in terms of your work, but you're constantly working with leaders, right? You're talking to people that are in different markets and things like that. And I know the question that I always get, that people always ask me, is like, well, how are our leaders able, to kind of drive growth in these markets, right? How do they really participate and do that? And then secondly, and I'll ask this question of you, if you were going to coach someone about how to potentially participate in one of these markets, what would be your best advice for them? What would you tell them to do?
Yeah, so I think that's a great question, Stony. I think the first answer that I'm going to give may surprise a lot of people, and that's, make sure that you have a solid foundation for wherever you are, right? Whether it's in the United States or if you're in Asia or wherever you are, make sure that you have the knowledge, that you have the confidence of who you are, how your teams are being built, the knowledge about the compensation plan, or knowledge about the product, or knowledge about our corporate structure here in the United States. All of those things, if you can make sure that those are solid, then you as a person can feel confident as you go international, right? And so in the next steps that we talk about when I talk with leaders or people who are prospects or are really just interested, some of them may not have any experience, or some of them may have friends overseas or whatnot, we just basically tell them, open your mouth, send an email, get on the phone, just get out there. A lot of times I just tell them, let's be humbly confident, humble enough to make sure that you understand that there's differences in cultures. There's differences in the way people think, or the way that people eat, or the way that people converse or communicate. But then also, there's differences in the way that they do business as well. So if we can understand that there's differences there and not come in and say, I know everything, you have to do it my way. When you can make sure that you're localizing or culturalizing the way that you communicate or the way that you interact with people, you're setting yourselves up for failure, for success, not for failure. But on the flip side of that is making sure that you're confident. No one is going to be pushing you, especially when it's international, right? So have the confidence to make sure that you push yourself, pick up that phone, do some research about people in that country, or have the confidence to buy a ticket and get over there. There's a lot of things that you have to make sure that you are confident about yourself, and I'm always there supporting, saying, I'm all for it. Let's do this.
Love it.
Yeah.
You said so many great things. One of the things I love that you said was, people ask me all the time, I always say, well, build at home, right? The more you're talking, the more you're sharing, the more we're evangelizing, wherever you're at, all of a sudden these opportunities seem to pop up for expanding internationally, right? Because you meet someone from somewhere, or you're connecting with someone from somewhere. But what I love that you said was, take the time to find out who you're talking to and where they're from. And because we as a company, particularly you guys, always bump into these processes where people will want to know, well, what was it take for us, to get product or to participate in these markets? And so that conversation is so important to have. What I love about and I'll say this about you guys, and you guys can certainly correct me if I'm wrong, you'll give them the straight story, right?
Sure.
You'll say, hey, we've worked through enough of these, regulatory bodies in certain countries. We've done all this work, so we know what it takes to open these markets. And so the best thing, like you said, they can do is understand kind of where they're at, understand how they can grow, how they can connect with these guys, and watch as those relationships build. But
yeah, I think one of the things that we always hear from our distributors is, when is this going to happen? Or you need to do this. And we understand that there's a lot of urgency to a lot of these things, and we're excited. As you can see, for these last 5 years, we've experienced a lot of growth in all of these countries that we've opened. Now we're up to not just 10, but we're 14 now. Really excited about that. But we want to make sure that we're protecting our future. We're here for generational growth. And what I've seen over the course of my career is a lot of companies, sometimes they're just looking for that low-hanging fruit. And let's chase this revenue, or let's change the success, or let's change that big fish. That's not our mantra here at New Life. And that's what excited me as I've met with the other executives, with Ryan and Alexi, is they have a vision of not just looking right here, but they're looking for the future. And that's what excites me. And that's part of our roles here together with the leaders here in the field is let's see how we can strategize. Let's see how we can come together to make sure that we're all on the same page. Like you said, is we don't want to fluff things up, because the only people who will get hurt is our leaders, right? Because they're putting their name out there, they're over-promising based on knowledge that is maybe not correct, right? So that's our job as the company to make sure that we have a solid foundation, that people have the confidence to know that we have their back and we're doing things to protect their future.
I love that. We're going to make that a marketing term, generational growth. I really like that. That's stuck with me. And that's exactly what we're trying to build, right? Generational growth, something that's solid and stable. So no, thank you for that. I have one more question for each of you. And so this is one of my favorite questions. So if I meet with the field, I always ask them the question, hey, why New Life? Like, if you were going to hang your flag somewhere, why here, right? For you guys, and this is a little bit different, having been a part of this whole process, having built internationally, and having watched New Life grow the way that it has, my question for you is, where do you see us in 10 years? Like from right here today, and I realize this is all speculation, so I'm not going to hold you to any of it, but where do you see us in 10 years? Like from now, where do you see the company being in 10 years?
Reid, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, so it's really exciting. I'm always looking at this from a global perspective, right? I'm the international person, and so it's really exciting. Looking back at the last 5 years is really exciting for me to say, wow, this thing is just exploding all over the place. And with my role is looking at the next 5 years is what can we do to make sure that we're protecting that, like I just said, is how can we channel this energy to make sure that we're very compliant, that we're doing things that are legal through the front door that people can be proud of. But I really see, like Ryan spoke about the products, we know how genuine and how wonderful our leaders are. Coupling those two things together, I'm really excited about the endless possibilities that we have across the globe. And so, obviously the possibilities are endless, but knowing that we have a strategy, knowing that we want to walk first before we run first before we join the marathon is really, really important for people like myself. But I'm just really excited that really the world is a huge place, and we're really excited for the possibilities there. Love
that. Beautifully said. Like I said, do it right and it'll last, right? Yeah. And we can watch it build. Right?
Yeah, I kind of distill it down into, what really sold me on New Life and Alexi was that Alexi is the formulator. He's not just a businessman. Most of what you see in direct selling out there it's just they put the business together and then they're like, okay, we got the business, we got the model, let's just try to find a product and let's white label it and, let's just get it out there. What I see is so bright is that twofold. One, the product is amazing. And, there really isn't a company out there that targets your hormones. And everything causes stress around your hormones, daily life, modern life, et cetera. And so, for me, I see that as just a mission that I can hang my hat on and going after and saying, hey, we can bring some health to the world so they feel better. Yeah. They sleep better, they wake up, they're thriving and they're happy. And so bringing that happiness is, I think, is what really drives me, and I feel that the products are everlasting. So 10 years, 20 years. I mean, Alexi was already selling Somaderm for over 20 years right now. So that's exciting. And then again, getting to know new cultures and taking it into more markets and, providing this kind of like this wealth of opportunity for people's health and also opportunity to make a business out of it, I think is a win-win. And so the future is extremely bright. I'm getting tingles just thinking about in the next 1 or 2 years where we're going to be internationally, and where we're going to be with our products.
You guys, first of all, beautifully answered. I think when you start thinking about it, I always circle back to the things we've all talked about. Number one is there's nobody like Alexi. I mean, I will stand on a mountaintop and say that to anybody who wants to ask me. He's probably the most unique founder I've ever met with, and it is because of the things you described. Right, he is our founder. He is our formulator. He is just occupies a space that I don't know that anyone's really ever occupied in our industry the way that he does. And secondly, when we build product, and you guys have both spoke to this, we're talking about category creating products, not something that gets white labeled. Every time he works into a market like that, it's always about something that's new, that's never been done before in a way that only he does it. And so I love that. When we talk about our company and our opportunity, we are led by, in my mind, the best field leaders that are on the planet. We have a group that is so committed, so motivated, so excited, and really is all about helping someone else, which is at the guts of what we do. And I think I've said all that to say that I say this all the time. We're different. Sometimes we talk about it, sometimes we don't know exactly what that means, but I think when we're saying that, what we're trying to say is we are all the things that you guys described, right? We're this company that is all about hormone health, which I don't know that's ever been done. We're this company that's all about opportunity in global markets that I don't know that's ever been done. And when you start thinking about that and you really start assessing what that can mean to you, I think that's when all these conversations start to matter, right? When I say to myself, oh my gosh, I can accomplish this, I can do this, and it's all because of this framework, because of this blueprint that's been laid that you can follow. You can follow it here, you can follow it in an international market, and you can see things happen that I don't think you could see happen anywhere else.
Great recap, Stony, and I think I failed to mention one other thing too.
Yeah.
And that is the field, the leaders. Because we do have a great founder and a visionary in Alexi. We have a hero product that is a category leading. But it takes 3 to tango, right? I know it says 2 to tango, but I'm going to put 3 in there. It isn't without you and the leaders out there that are traveling, like Reid said, reaching out and sharing your testimonies of what the products have done for you and in your life and your family's lives. That is, I think we got a winning formula with those 3.
Could not agree more. All right, guys, last 30-second question. Total round robin. You ready? This is going to be fun. Okay.
Bring it on.
If you're sitting in front of someone right now, they've got all this opportunity in front of them, they've got all the things that we've talked about, what would you tell them to do right now today? Reid, you go first.
Absolutely is just jump in. Just jump in. A lot of times, myself included, sometimes you get in your head, right? And you overthink things, or you're doubtful, or you're wondering. Just go. Especially in my arena, just go. Yeah. Making mistakes is always great, right? Being unsure of yourself, but going forward is always just great. So put yourself out there. Don't worry about failing, because you're going forward. That's what matters. And so that would be my advice to anybody.
Love it. Yeah. Beautifully said. Ryan, what do you think?
Yeah, you can't beat that. But when you asked the question, it reminded me when I was 19 years old, I was dropped into a foreign place, having to speak a new language. It was a volunteer service, and I didn't speak Spanish. I didn't know the culture. I didn't know anything, and so many people just gave up and quit. And I just stuck it out. I kept going. And one thing that I did learn in that experience is that there are people that have done it and are successful. Learn from them. Yeah. Ask questions. And there's people in the New You Life family that you can look at and say, hey, how is he or she doing this? And I know that they would welcome an outreach to say, hey, how do I be successful? What is it that you do? And just follow in good footsteps, but never give up and persevere. So I think those are the 2 simple things that I would say.
I love it. Well answered, guys. Beautifully answered. I think just in wrapping up, 2 things I would add. I would just say, first of all, you do have to jump in. No matter what you do, you have to go in with both feet. You can't not get engaged. And secondly, Ryan, absolutely find yourself a mentor. Find somebody that can help you. Find somebody that can help you. And there's plenty that will and guide you along this journey. And finally, when you think about this, we just launched the EU, right? We just talked about that at the top of this particular live. So what I'm hoping you do is that you do the two things these guys described, that you recognize the opportunities in front of you, that you recognize right now there's no better time than the present. I think sometimes we get caught up, we get hung up, and we think, I'm going to wait till this happens or that happens. Don't wait. I say this all the time, and I say it to everybody. Take the time right now to understand what's going on in these markets. Take the time to understand right now what you can do to make them work for you, and watch as you do that and help someone else do the same, that the things that you really want to have happen do. And that's really what we're all about. So, gentlemen, thank you again for spending a few minutes with it. Thanks for all your work. We appreciate you. In case no one tells you, I'll tell you. And we appreciate all the work you do. And we're so excited for you guys. Guys, right now is the time. This is really the perfect opportunity to make this happen for you. So I'm going to hope that you do that. And we're at your service. Call us if you need us. We're always here. And I'll look forward to talking with you soon. Thanks again. Bye-bye.